I live in Northwest Arkansas, and I live here with my husband and my daughter. She's about 10 years old. My husband works for a massive international corporation. And I'm a full-on stay-at-home mom. I'm working on my BA in psychology and business. And my daughter is a competitive cheerleader. And yeah, not really a lot. We have 4 dogs, and yeah, we just kind of like spending time with family and kind of a homebody, like just relishing in the time because times are weird. So
Yeah, it's kind of like crazy these days where there's so much going on. And I know for you, being a stay-at-home mother and a stay-at-home wife, right?
right.
Explain that journey a little bit. So what does that look like, and what are the dynamics of being what we call here in Canada a domestic engineer?
Okay. So in Canada, y'all call them domestic engineers?
Yeah, yeah, we have like these fancy
Okay.
names for these things. So, everyone
Yeah.
is, we have these like big names, right? Like, so for example, I would be like, what's a fancy title I can? I'm like, if I were to, let's say, sweep floors, like a janitor, right? I'm a
Okay.
logistics engineer. We just add engineer to everything, and it sounds so sexy. It's incredible. Um,
Oh,
so it's
goodness.
kind of wild. So like for stay-at-home mothers, we would say that they're a domestic engineer because they're staying at home and they engineer the household. For the mothers out there, don't kill me. That's my understanding of it. But yeah,
I mean, and also don't kill me either. I feel like I slightly have to agree with him because family dynamics are a cog that has to keep going, and there's always got to be the one cog that keeps it going. And and that's something that I'm really glad that you brought up because that's a weird dynamic because a lot of people just automatically put it on the man. And I was brought up very traditionally, and that's why it works for our family. My husband was brought up the same way, and so that dynamic works for our family. Not to say that, the other way around doesn't work for other people. I know people where the husband stays home and the mom works, and, they get a lot of hate for that. But I'm just like, if somebody's contributing, if not both, then why does it matter how somebody else lives their life? Like, as long as the children are happy, fed, clothes on their backs, like, why does it matter? You know?
I will agree. Like for me, if I could stay at home, be a kept man, I definitely would. No, honestly, there's some days I tell you where I'm at work and I'm like, Lord, please just bring me some like 50-year-old woman who has her pension and she's about to get her old age pension.
Right, like,
And,
give me some
I'm at that point.
housework.
Yeah, like I'm tired. Like, why can't I retire? Like to single mothers out there, whatever. you
Hey, but
know?
to the single moms out there that are doing it, keep doing it,
Yeah.
man. Don't ever let
It,
anybody bring you down.
no, it is tough because like when you like I look at some of like I've dated a number of single mothers or
Mhm.
and they've been older than me and I've seen and I coach some of them and I have the conversation. One of the struggles that I hear them have is trying to find a relationship after that, right? After the child is born, because there's a lot of people that think it's baggage, right? So for you, um, what what advice maybe you would you want to give to the single mothers out there who are trying to find love again and move
Well,
forward in their life on a relationship basis and hopefully get married too?
yeah, so that's actually a really good question. I'm glad you asked that. So we're gonna kind of segue into a little bit of a long story here, and forgive me for a second. I'm gonna put my hair up. It gets on my nerves and my face.
She's
Um,
getting ready, everyone. So prepare for the
not
story. She's getting ready.
in a bad way. No, this is actually a very positive, motivational way. No, I'm actually really glad that you brought that up because our dynamic is a little bit different. So, it's taken me a lot of time and a lot of therapy, over the years to get where I'm at now. Um, but um, so my husband is not actually my daughter's biological father. I was with her biological father, and I were friends for many years. When I got divorced from my previous husband, I made the mistake, like a lot of women do. I mean, you can bash me for it or you can empathize with me. I know we've all done it. We've all been there at least once or twice. Some people haven't, but I know, I'm not the only one. basically. Um, I ran into his arms. He knew how to manipulate me, and we were together for about 2.5 years. And we split up. And it was about 3 months after we split up. That was when I found out I was pregnant. And he promised me he was going to be there and he was going to stay. And 2 weeks later, 2 weeks to the day later, he left me. And he went back to the mother of his other children, which ironically is so funny because she left him to go back to the guy that she cheated on him with. It's a revolving circle of nonsense, which is why I ran away from it, got away from it. So he called me, said, I'm leaving, I'm never coming back. And I said, deuces. I moved, I left Texas, I came to Arkansas. I've been here for 10 years now. It was 10 years on February 1st. And my daughter was about 1.5 years old, I believe, when I met Cameron. And I think she met him when she was 2. I was very particular about that. And I had a friend that I worked with, because I was a bartender back then, and he wanted to hook me up with one of his old college buddies. And I was like, no, I work 6 days a week. I just want to raise my kid. I want to be single. That's what I want. A year later, you know who comes rolling in and just sits there, and we've been together ever since. And we're going through the adoption process currently. Sorry, I'm like, so we're all getting over strep, and I'm like super dehydrated, and I am so sorry. Thank you. But like, my whole, like, it was one of those things where, oh gosh, I don't know. This gets hard because, so it was one of those things where, like, I met him and it was a year later and it was not supposed to be. And then I spent time with him and I got to know him, found out that Matthew was trying to hook us up the entire time. And I was a single mom at that time. I didn't want anything to do with it. I just wanted to raise my kid and work. Well, that's what I wanted to do. And then here comes my husband and he just sweeps me off my feet. And, like, when I say I was in a million pieces when he met me, I mean that. And over almost a decade, he has helped me slowly put every little bit back together. And he has accepted our daughter as his own. She doesn't know that he's not her biological father yet. Not saying that topic's never going to come up. And if it does, we are going to be very honest. We're not going to shade her on that. We're not going to do that. We are in the middle of the adoption process. So her last name is going to legally change to his last name. I don't even know if this is appropriate. Her sperm donor is not even on her birth certificate at all whatsoever. Like, I'm the only listed parent on her birth certificate. So once we finalize the adoption, we'll get a new birth certificate. My name will be on there. My husband's name will be on there. And, like, his family takes her in as their own. They love her as their own. And, to me, it was really weird at first, and I didn't know how to feel about it. It took me a long time to get to that point of, is this okay? Like, am I doing the right thing as a mother? Am I jeopardizing her? I don't think it was the wrong thing, but at the same time, I also think I took the time for myself to be a mom and a single parent. And I think that I took the time to get to know him and build a relationship with him before I allowed him into my daughter's life. And a lot of people don't do that. And, I don't really know how to feel on that. I just know that I came from childhood trauma and abuse, and I never wanted my daughter to experience anything like that. It's going to come up one day. It's going to. And we are going to have that conversation. But my husband and I are very much one team. And we have agreed that we are going to talk to her together about that and do what we need to do to make her comfortable. Whatever choice she decides to make, my husband is going to support her because that's his daughter. At the end of the day, she is going to see who loved her, who raised her. She knows who her dad is, and they say blood is thicker than water. It isn't. Sometimes it isn't, like that is her daddy. You can't tell her any different and you can't tell him any different.
I know
So, and
for blended families, Ashley, it is tough because you don't know when is the right time to share that news.
right.
For you, you mentioned the childhood that you had, and you drew parallels between your upbringing and what your daughter is going through. And for you, I know it took some time for you to find out about your parents and things of that nature.
Yep.
When you're thinking about your current family dynamic,
Hmm.
do you have an idea of not when, sorry, how you're going to approach that topic with your daughter and your husband at that time?
That's a good question. I'm not really certain. Honestly, I guess it's just going to be a situational thing. It just depends on the time and when it happens. I mean, you know my husband, he travels quite a bit for work, and he's in and out, and that's not to any fault of his own. And I travel quite a bit for leisure just because of it. Like I'm going to Turks and Caicos in July with my sister. Like I just got back from Ohio. Like, it's like, I mean, it's gonna come up. I don't know. That's a good question. I think I need to sit down with my husband and talk to him about that because, what if it isn't a situation where one of us isn't here? We both collectively would like to talk to her about it, obviously, but what if she catches on when one of us isn't there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think for those, like for everyone watching, and I think for you and anyone else I can take from this, there isn't a quote unquote right time. It's not like you can say, okay, Thursday at 5 p.m., me, you,
You
and the daughter, right? We're
really
on,
don't know.
right? Like we can't do that. It's not like it's like a date. You know what I mean? No,
Right,
Ashley,
exactly.
it's not
Like,
like that.
yes, let's set up a date for trauma. That sounds like a great
Yeah,
idea.
okay. We have Netflix and chill with the family. Then Thursday night is trauma night,
Yeah,
right? It's
it's
not
like
like it's
we
one
can
of
get like
those.
Pluto and trauma. Let's do it.
Yeah, and then Saturday, hopefully, you go to church and you guys do it all over again on the
No,
Monday.
that's Sunday.
But that's Sunday. There you go to my Catholics out there. But for the three
No,
of you,
like Catholics, you can't
what I was saying is for like the three of you, what would
do religion.
happen
We're
is
not bringing religion into this. Stop that.
no, we're not. But I look at it as if we're going to be in a situation like for me, like I think I share this. Like I didn't know my mother and my father growing up, right? And there wasn't a time to have that conversation because no one told me. I had to figure it out on my own. And to a
Right.
degree, maybe that was a little bit better because I was connecting with the people that was there for me at that time. In your situation, your daughter at the moment doesn't know who her father is, but she's built such a strong relationship with your husband. So
Yep.
there isn't a right time, but the time is going to be, I guess, sooner than later. But when you're looking back on it and you're seeing your current family, how much of a reminder of what you went through as a child is coming up now?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked that because that's exactly what I was about to touch on. Like, it was shoved in my face. Like, so I'm also the product of a basically a situational dynamic like this. My dad is not my biological father; he's my stepfather. Which, FYI, my parents, I haven't spoken to them in 8 years. It's a very toxic, volatile relationship. That's on a different podcast. Y'all can go listen to from a year ago. But yeah, Mr. Terrain will guide y'all that direction. But um, no. So where was I going with that train? Bring me back to my thought process. Come on, you know where I was going. Help me.
Absolutely. So Your dynamic
The
in your
childhood
household is that
trauma.
your daughter and
Yeah.
you
Yes.
are the
Yes.
daughter of
So
someone that is not your biological father.
yes. And so, and it was shoved down my throat my entire life that he is not your biological dad. Your sperm donor this, your sperm donor that. And then it was like I was 15 when I started trying to like find him. Like I had a relationship with my stepmoms, I had a relationship with siblings, like half siblings, you know, everything. And then I tried to find him, could never find him. I think I was 22 years old before I ever found him. And the only thing that he could tell me was that my mother was a horrible human being, which she is, but he also is 10 times worse than she is. And like he lied and said that she cheated on him with one of the Dallas Cowboys because she was a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. I'm like, no, that never happened. Even I know that. Like, but it was crammed down my throat my whole life that he was not my biological father, but that was my dad. That's who raised me. That's the only man that I knew. And then at 15, it just started getting weird. And then by 22, I think was when I had the first conversation with him. And I found out what a bad person he was. And I hate to say this, but I pretty much told him to die. I said humanity would be better off without you. You're a horrible human being. And I hate that. And I don't want that for her. I want her, when it happens, to be able to make the choice of do I do this or do I not? My husband has already explained to me that he's like, I'm not going to be hurt at whatever decision she makes. You know, that's her choice, her life. I'm always going to be here for her. I'm always going to take care of her. I'm always going to claim her. She will always have my last name, you know, like that's just how it is. And I think that that is a very healthy move because when that was going on with me, that was not the boundary that was kept, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It was just very, everything was shoved in my face to make me feel bad. But then when I tried to fix it, it was like, oh, you're a bad person for even trying. So I need it to be her decision. I need her to decide if she wants to try. You know, like I will obviously tell her everything that happened between him and I and what he did to her and I. And then I'll let her collectively make her own decision because I was controlled growing up and I am a childhood trauma product and it has really affected my life in very negative ways. And I don't want her to grow up that way. I don't. And, you know, some people say don't say anything. Some people say you have to tell her. Some people are like, wait till she asks. But at the end of the day, honesty is the best policy. Transparency is important. You know, like if I'm not transparent with her,